Welcome to the Own It Powercast, the place to be when you get serious about making big changes and accelerating growth in your life and in your relationships. Finally create the life you've always wanted, living life on your own terms. Learn how to take your fear and turn it into powerful choices that will create sustained change. Now your host, Mary Baker.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the Own It Powercast, a place where you can come to get what you need to move yourself forward. Hey, it's Mary Baker, and welcome to episode 78, Finding Peace by Owning Your Power. Now, as you know, all month, it's been about finding and focusing on what brings us hope. And as the holidays are here for many of us, on top of a pandemic, on top of social justice and economic issues, I thought finding peace would be a good topic because I know many of us are really struggling with that right now. And I think the power of possible lies within you. I think it lies within your ability to both own your feelings and therefore the grief work you need to do, and then owning your power by getting and staying in a place of choice. So today I want to concentrate on what we can choose, what we can control, and what we can make different in our world. To turn within for answers, to the possibilities and therefore the hope. Now, last week we focused on the work that you want to do. Remember, the hope is in the work, and we got down into different areas of the work that you could continue doing or begin doing. And that's going to come in handy for today's talk. So if you haven't already, go back and have a listen to the episode and then join us right back here, and it might make more sense. All right, so of course, first we want to recognize what's hurting. Some of you might say, what isn't hurting? What's making you angry, sad, depressed, and or anxious? Maybe you're feeling defeated, fatigued, overwhelmed, or all of the above. So imagining finding peace might be difficult, but what I want you to know is it's all inside of you. All right, so there is an order of business to things, I think, for some of this work, but of course feel free to do it your way, whatever feels right for you. But I usually start with boundaries. Do the boundary work first that you need to do. I think this is important for several reasons. The first one is we have to know the who owns what. We have to know what is about us and what is about others. Really teasing out what is inside of us and what are the nouns outside of us. All those people out there, all the situations, all the circumstances, and the events that you can't make unhappen or happen. All the things that you have no control over. So you want to put them in the other column. And in the column of you, start focusing on your thoughts, your feelings, what you believe, how you behave, what your choices are, what matters most to you and why. So doing the boundary work first. And then once you separate out everything that doesn't belong to you, now it's time to focus on, okay, where are you struggling? We talked a lot last week about different ways that you know you struggle with boundaries. If you just feel blurred with someone else, like you don't know where you end and they begin, do the who owns what. If you feel like you're very reactive and upset and a victim thereof, do the who owns what, get back to you. What are my choices here? Okay, that's about them. Now what's about me? Good boundary work means I don't punt, I don't deny, and I don't defer to other people to take responsibility for something that's mine. You know, maybe it's my failure to see the reality. Maybe it is my unwillingness to look in the mirror around some things. Maybe I don't want to be told no. Maybe I have a really hard time saying no. I have a hard time detaching from outcomes and from what other people are doing or not doing. Maybe I have poor impulse control. I play victim, I exaggerate, Maybe I'm very loving but codependent and controlling and so busy rescuing everyone and doing everything for everyone else. So there's lots of different ways that you can look at where you struggle with boundaries. But I think it's a really great place to start. It's going to show you what the issues are. It's going to show you where you struggle. And when we struggle with boundary stuff, we have a hard time finding peace. Because we're trying to change things that aren't within our control, while neglecting perhaps some things that maybe we should be looking at within ourselves. There's lots of chaos, lots of frustration, probably obsessiveness about issues that are going on out there in the world or in your personal life that you can't seem to let go of. Staying in the swirl, in the tornado, you've heard me say. All right, so now that you've identified maybe where the struggles are, okay, to get to acceptance and to get to peace, you've heard me say kicking and screaming. That's what I call the grief process, because we usually don't go easily or happily. We go kicking and screaming. We're resistant. Grieving means surrendering to what is, and it is surrendering to the fact that you don't have the power to make things go away, unhappen, be different, go back to the way they were before, all that stuff. And most of you are familiar with DABDA, the stages of grief: denial, anger, bargaining, depression, acceptance. And I think once we come out of denial, we start feeling feelings. Usually anger. We don't like something. We're pissed. We're frustrated. We talk about it all the time. We obsess about it. Then we do the bargaining, the what ifs and the if onlys, and we go back and forth between anger and bargaining quite a bit. Trying to make it different. If only. If only I had done that. If only they didn't do that. If only this had happened. And what if? What if I had made a different choice? So it's basically staying stuck in the past, but we all have to go through the bargaining stage, no matter what the loss is. And I want you to really think about what you're feeling and let yourself feel. And if you can't let yourself feel, then you know you need some help around that. Get into a good support group, find a therapist, someone who you feel safe with. Identify what you're feeling and why it makes sense according to the situation, and that you have a right to your feelings, and that you can sit in them and they won't kill you. You can feel them and let them go. Then a couple days later, feel some more and let them go. Every time you allow yourself to feel them, you honor yourself. We can't own ourselves if we disown our feelings. We just can't. Especially if there are some feelings of self-loathing, regret, guilt, and shame. Remember, shame is not good enough. They say we never truly grieve something until we can identify how it pertains to how we see ourselves, our identity, what kind of person we are. So if you did something you really regret and you cannot reconcile that with who you say you want to be, that's tough. And it's really difficult to sit in those awful feelings. And I encourage people, if you're feeling that dark about it, do not do this by yourself, right? Get some healthy support. Do some journaling if the feelings aren't so crazy, but you just want to validate how you feel. That's all you're doing. You're not sitting in it. You're not going to mire in it. You're just going to honor it. Funny how when we honor things, they kind of dissipate over time. Maybe you write those letters to people you never give to them. That you're angry, that you're sad, that you're sorry. Maybe it's to situations. Maybe it's to whatever spiritual power you believe in. Maybe it's all the above. You'll know. You'll know what you need to do. Acceptance comes, I think, as the byproduct of being able to move through the work and allow grief to have its own timing. This is not something you get to check the box and do in 24 hours. This takes time, and it knows when it's done, and then you will start to feel a sense of peace. I think that sense of peace has to do with I'm no longer trying to make the past different. I'm no longer trying to undo what happened or what I did or didn't do or what they did or didn't do. I'm no longer trying to deny reality or make it different. And when you do this work, you always hear me say, grab the context. You did the best you could with what you had at the time. So did others. And maybe it wasn't great, and maybe it was even awful. But it was what it was. Today you can do different. Because today you know better and you want better. And that is how you work towards forgiveness, especially forgiveness of yourself. When I sit with people who are stuck in what's called protracted grief, where they're just still pissed at someone 20 years later, maybe what they haven't done is looked at how angry they are at themselves for being vulnerable and trusting that person who hurt them, even if it was when they were a kid. And we got to grab some context around that. You were a kid. You weren't supposed to know any different. You were maybe a young adult in your first love relationship, and you were betrayed. You didn't ask for that, and maybe you didn't even do anything to deserve it. Forgiving yourself for whatever was going on for you is key. Let it go. It's okay, and you can live better today to make up for it as best you can. While you're doing this grief work, I think another big part of this is self-care, self-care, self-care. And self-care means a lot of different things like we've talked about here before. It means healthier habits, self-love, get support around you. Get grounded, take some time, go for a walk, meditate, take a nap, take a break. I know a lot of you don't have 5 minutes right now, especially young parents. And I've been telling my clients who struggle with that, even 5 minutes a couple times a day of walking outside and getting a breath of fresh air is going to help. Doing something different. Getting out of the house, getting off the couch, cleaning out a closet, whatever you do to feel better, do it. It all adds up. We always want to think that we need a whole weekend off or a week away or a grand gesture. And a lot of us can't do that right now. And that's okay. Do what you can to balance out what you have to deal with the rest of the day. So if you're doing a lot of work, find something that is relaxing and fun for half an hour. Let yourself play. Let yourself get quiet. If you're by yourself, find ways to connect. Find the balance. So all of this is about being empowered. And I think finding peace is finding your own power again. Returning to it. Maybe you think you're finding it for the first time. Maybe so. I think 4-year-olds are very empowered, and I think our job is to get back to being 4. So remember last week when we talked a lot about personal responsibility, to me, that means being empowered, and it means owning your own power. And in order to do that, we have to take responsibility, as you hear me say often, for what we think, feel, and do, and for everything we choose. From what we choose to see, what we believe, and what we decide. Because again, if we don't own this, we outsource our sense of power, we feel beat up, we feel victimized. We're handing it over to people, events, and circumstances, and anything else we can think of. How in the world can you feel empowered if you don't feel like you have any power? And what I want to talk about today is you do. And it may feel very limited, and it may not be the kind of power that you want, and that's okay. That makes sense. But I want you to take some time today and start writing down all of your choices, big and small, just even in a given day, choosing what you wore today. You chose what you said to whom. You chose the tasks that you completed today. Focus on all the choices this week that you've made and some of them that you want to make the rest of the week. Notice the ones that you feel good about. Maybe you weren't aware of how much you are choosing. We forget how many things that we decide, we often want to blame others and defer and deny and divert our attention to others. We want to deny our sense of power a lot of times because it can be scary, to be honest. Because if the buck stops with you, you can't blame anyone if you screw it up, right? It means you have to own it. And sometimes we're so afraid that we don't even know how to do it, or we're not going to do it right. And I want to tell you, yes, you will, and you will naturally reach out for the help that you need. And deep down, you will feel so much better once you start taking charge of you. So stop looking out there. Don't look out there for the answers. Don't look out there for the power. You can look out there for inspiration. You can look out there for cool ideas, but not for your choices. Those are within. Always. Focus on what you can do. What are some small changes that you can start making, right? What can you focus on? What can you continue and get your head back into after being distracted? And I want to take a moment about that. A lot of clients beat themselves up because they fell off the horse. Get back on. It's okay. You might be bruised. You might have wasted a little time. That's all right. Better to get back on the horse than not. Just keep going. You're going to be a lot more motivated now than you were 2 weeks ago before you fell off. Because now you're pissed and now you're determined, and that can be a healthy thing. Anger can be a really good catalyst for change when used wisely. So there's something I talk to clients a lot about, and it's the I've decided. The I've decided statement. It's fascinating when I work with people, especially in relationships, when someone has just gotten solid on a decision. Now, of course, a lot of times they're coming to see me because someone's made the decision to get the hell out of there because things have not gotten better. And so their partner is desperate, right, to make everything right so their partner won't leave. They feel intuitively when their partner has decided that this is it. I can't take this anymore. I'm done. People know, they feel intuitively when you have made a decision and you feel emotionally solid in that decision. In other words, you can't be swayed very easily. You can't be manipulated out of your truth. And they know that. That's why often you'll see conflict when someone becomes empowered in a relationship. Because others say, uh-oh, look at her. Look at him. Now what? I can't manipulate them anymore. And often they'll get angry and they can lash out at you when you've decided. It's very powerful because they can't touch that. Once you've decided, there is no unringing that bell. They can claw and they can scream and they can cry and they can try to hold you back or hold on to you, but you've decided, and whether you walk today or 6 months from now, it doesn't really matter. You've already turned that corner. You've decided some things, and I want you to think this week about what have you decided, or what do you need to decide on about you, about your life, about how you want to approach life, about what you want to change, about what you want your mindset to be. Is it going to be full of possibility, or is it going to be negative and victim stance, or anything in between? You get to decide that. You get to make decisions and follow through on them. Because it's no longer about anybody else. Now, of course, usually when people do this, it's because they really yearn for alignment with their values, with their sense of purpose, and what really matters right now. This is all about you getting back in touch with your authentic voice and bringing the voice into the room. It means your true thoughts, which what I call are uncouched, right? You're not couching it to people please and make everyone else feel better, feel safe, and love you and think you're fabulous. You're not here to take care of everyone else's fear. You're only here to take care of your own. You're here to honor your true feelings on a subject, your true emotional and psychological needs, your sense of purpose, and your priorities. So really getting into the I've decided. Even if it's a small decision, go ahead. And at the end of the page, maybe write down some things that you're not quite ready to pull the trigger on, but you know you're getting ready to be ready. And that's okay too. We want to note that because maybe some things need to change within us or some things need to happen before we get solid on that. The other thing you want to think about is healthy coping skills. So not getting fed up and frustrated. And what I mean by that is other things can wait. Healthy coping means not being all or nothing, perfect or horrible, perfect outcome only, or I won't do it-ness. It means instead practicing acceptance and doing what you can do today, knowing that that will open up better things for tomorrow. Don't wait until it's perfect. Do what you can today. Start carving that sculpture today, so to speak. Start cleaning out the house. Start saving a little each week. Start getting healthier. Just start. Just begin. The more you see the benefits of doing, the more you want to do later, when you can. When we can have a better normal, when there's more money, when there's more time, when you have a clear enough head, do what you can do now. And what you do now will create better outcomes tomorrow, slowly, over time. What we're talking about today is finding peace by finding your power. Getting back into what you can do today, what you need to move through and grieve, and how to take really good care of yourself. Finding peace doesn't mean we don't wish things were better. Of course not. These are some very difficult times right now, and the struggle is very real for so many people. Finding peace means focusing back on you, what you can do, taking care of yourself, finding your own power again, and making sure that you stay in a place of choice and you try to detach from other people's choices, allowing them to choose. Finding peace means being more in the now rather than what's happened or what might happen. It's staying in the moment. This allows us actually to be more creative and find better solutions. Finding peace means making decisions for your now, letting go of the ones you may need to make later. Finding peace really means finding you again. So today we talked about finding peace during this very difficult season by getting back to owning your power, by refocusing on what you can control today, rather than all those variables out there that you can't. It means getting quieter and going within, finding time to breathe, focus, and be, to concentrate on what matters most to you right now. Thank you for joining me today. May you stay healthy, of course. Stay grounded, hold on to hope. Focus on the good in yourself and find it in others. Be sure to check the show notes at ownitpowercast.com and sign up for the newsletter each Tuesday if you don't already have it. There you can find the bonus downloads and lots of other great information. All right, so pay it forward, keep focusing on you, and I'll see you next time.
We hope you took away some useful insights and tools you could begin using right away. If you did, please leave a positive review and share on your social media. Because could you imagine if everyone in your life really got it together? Remember, own it now, so you can really own it later.